I'm Josh with Waupaca Community Media, and this week Aaron Jensen from the state of Waupaca, Ron Sari from the Waupaca School District back again for our weekly community update. Hello.
Hey, Josh.
Hey, Josh.
And the first thing probably top of mind is what's going on with school. We're at that date where the next decision's to be made, and Ron, what's the latest on that?
Well, we've made the decision today with a meeting with our county health official and in combination with the other superintendents. And for the Waupaca school, or the school district of Waupaca, we are going to stay status quo in regards to our 7th through 12th AB schedule at this point in time. And this is a very difficult decision because when we look at the data regarding that decision framework that we have, that the county gave us, with 160 as our 14-day cohort, puts us in a column, the fourth column, and then having 5 individuals in our staff student cohort, we can have up to 12 and be in the first row. It puts us in a box that allows us to be in person, 4K through 12th grade in person. And that's really where I want to go. We want our students actually 5 days a week at the same time. There's other data that we're taking into account that really shines some light on caution for us to just make this decision and switch to 4 days in person for those 7th through 12th graders. And part of it has to do, a big part of it, with all of the surrounding counties and the spikes that's taking place in those counties, in the hospitalizations that's taking place. And then you look at those school districts in those counties around us in the valley especially, a lot of them have gone virtual, all remote, and not even having an AB. Last week on Thursday and Friday, we had 28 positives on Thursday and then 30 on Friday, and it settled down a little bit, but it's still mostly in double digits every day. And so that's why we're leaning to, at this point, delay that move to the green box where it's 7th through 12th grade going in person again.
I think it's better to play it a little safe and keep doing what you're doing than be forced to go in a direction you don't want to go.
Yeah, because it was brought to our attention, what if you do that and then you can't even go back to AB, you have to go all remote. See, part of this is too, when we go to AB, or we go from AB in the 7th through 12th grade to 4 days a week in person, we no longer have the luxury of having that 6-foot distance as often as we currently do. We would be probably at lunch, less than 6 feet apart, or if we aren't, it would be, very, very, in some places it'd be 6 feet apart, but in a lot of others it wouldn't. And in the classrooms as well, it more than likely would not be 6 feet apart as much as it is right now. So that's a big factor in it as well.
Another big factor in how you're doing things too is you've got a pretty high shortage in substitute teachers this school year. You've got some that maybe don't want to substitute teach because COVID's going on, among other reasons, and you don't have a very big gap between maybe a couple teachers having to quarantine and to the point where you might be looking at making some decisions.
Yeah, exactly right. We have 184 teachers. Typically, we got 77 subs in the that'll sub for us. They sub in other districts too, but we have 77 we can call on. This year, Josh, we have 15. So we're looking at a drop of 80% in our substitute teacher pool. And then when you drill down into those 15, there's only 7 of them that we could call on a moment's notice and they'll come any day, anytime, and sub anywhere. The other 8 of our 15, they have preferences. Well, I'm not going to sub in that building. I only want to sub here. And I'm only going to sub for these certain subject areas. I don't want to do special ed and so we're very limited depending on the day of the week or the building and the need of that particular opening. Then, if it's a teacher and they're well enough and they can teach remotely, we allow that, and we encourage that because that's the next best thing to having the teacher in person. But we still got to get a sub or somebody to supervise in that classroom. So if it's not a substitute teacher because we run out or we don't have any, then we will use an education assistant to be there and be that adult in that classroom. But when you look at we have 67 aides, and we have 9 total substitutes for those aides. And when you look at the 9, only three are willing to sub anywhere, anytime, any place. The other 6, just like with the substitute teachers, they're limited. Only certain days of the week, only certain positions, only certain buildings. So we're limited there. Then we start looking at our staff that are able to sub. They're teaching license, but they don't have like a classroom that they're assigned to. So it might be like our Title I teachers, our instructional coaches, our librarians, and we're using them. And they'll get pulled from their role and they'll be in the classroom subbing. We have 14 of them. So we are getting close at times to, maxing out our capacity, being saturated, where we've always said if we're going to have to close the building, it's probably going to be more likely because we just don't have enough adults. We don't have enough staff to stay open. So that's the situation we're in. Typically, we go about 12 people absent on a given day. That's an average pre-COVID type of thing. There's 12 to 15 people absent in our school district.
That takes up all the subs you could have right now.
Yeah. So we've been lucky. We've been healthy. We're keeping our fingers crossed. We do have 5 people right now, students and staff. That's that big cohort. We have 5 that are positive with COVID, and we've got about another 48 or so that are quarantined right now, pending a test. And a lot of the tests come back negative, and then we get them back. But so we just want to stay open, and with everything around us the way it is, we're afraid and very fearful. Getting out of that AB schedule could put us into a situation where we have to just go all remote, and that's going backwards. So we're going to press the pause button for the next 2 weeks again.
In talking before the interview, it's not there aren't a lot of requirements to be a substitute teacher. It takes having an associate's degree. So if there are people out there maybe interested in giving that a try or would be interested in doing that, how can they learn more?
Yeah, they could contact us, Josh. We would love to have more subs. The substitute teachers are, I think it's $110 a day. Even sub aides, all you have to do is go to our website, and we have an employment tab, and you hit that and you'll see all the openings, and we have sub teachers listed and sub aides. It says for the sub teachers you need a bachelor's. That it used to be that way. We're going to have to update it. All you need are a certain amount of college credits. There's even college students who haven't graduated that can substitute teach. They can get that substitute license, and we will even pay for you to get that substitute license. That's the shape that we're in to help out those individuals that may be interested. So if you can't get your answers, your questions answered on our website, feel free to call us. And we'll be more than happy to direct you and walk you through that process.
So we've got the school maybe looking for some extra subs, maybe a good small part-time employment opportunity, and there's some other need for help and people in our community, Aaron.
Yeah, good segue, Josh. So we are looking at making a little call out, and we did this a few weeks ago for Foundations for Living, but I wanted to reiterate it. We got an update at our Rotary meeting this morning from Wilma Akright. She's the director of Foundations for Living, and COVID has negatively impacted them in the fact that they might be expecting more homeless people, more need to serve those people moving into the winter, and B, their volunteers have just dropped off the table. So they could use another 25 volunteers. Their facility opens November 1st, runs through April 30th. So if anybody has any interest in helping out, I would strongly recommend that they contact Wilma at Foundations for a Living, or even feel free to give us a call here at City Hall and we can point you in the right direction. So again, I think that would go a long ways, even if we could get 5 people who are listening to this and think, hey, I want to learn more about it. There's day shifts, there's evening shifts, there's overnight shifts. So if you think you can't, maybe it won't work with your schedule, there's a lot of options. So I would encourage anyone to reach out to Wilma. The next thing is this Saturday, we have a Rock the Block celebration. As we know, Rock the Block came here over this past spring and summer, did a ton of great work. I think over 30 applicants had home projects done and improvements done as a part of that program. A bunch of people in the community were able to pull together money, funds, philanthropists were able to bring in this effort and really make an awesome impact in the city of Waupaca and in the surrounding area. And now they're having a little bit of a celebration day where they're doing it doesn't look like it did before, obviously. It's hard to plan a big celebration in COVID times, but they're doing some volunteer work outside. They're meeting at Swan Park on Saturday. They have about 30 volunteers. They'll do some outside work and they're looking for 50 volunteers. So if they can get, another 10, 15, 20, that'd be a big help too. So 8:30 Swan Park Saturday. And I think that's about it, Josh, for at least the people needs for our community that we know of right now.
Another thing that I think everyone kind of top of mind is that November 3rd election. That's going to be if I had to take a prediction, that's going to be pretty high voter turnout. And tell us what's going on with the election so far, Aaron.
Yeah, I would guess it's going to be a pretty high voter turnout as well. I think right now, what I wanted to touch on is the absentee ballot counts and where we're at with that. Obviously, in the primary in April, the presidential primary, we had about as many absentee ballots as you could expect. I think we were at about almost 600 absentees. I just checked with Sandy the other day. We're already at over 980. That was yesterday. We're probably over 1,000 as we sit here right now. So I give Sandy and Barb a ton of credit for all the work that they're doing, getting those in and out. And they'll be continuing to do that over the next several weeks. A reminder that absentee voting or in-person voting can happen actually at City Hall the last 2 weeks of October, starting April 20th. That will, with COVID, we'll make sure we're taking COVID precautions. We're going to have some booths set up probably down the hallway in the City Hall side of things. We'll try to move people in and out safely. And that's coming up. So our clerk's office is preparing for that as we head into our November elections. So that's a little election update, Josh.
Some good news from our building inspection department for the year 2021. They received their delegation. And as you were filling me on that, it took me a couple minutes to realize what that was. And I think most people out there listening to us, what do you mean they received their delegation? What does that mean?
It took me a little bit too when I started here to realize what it was. And we have been delegated, just to be clear, but we have a building inspector that is credentialed to be delegated through the state of Wisconsin. So what that means is when people take commercial projects here that would otherwise have to be approved through the state, we have a service here at the city of Waupaca where we can approve those plans without having to go through the state. And what that means is it just speeds up the time of those projects. So right now the state might be backed out 3, 4, 5 months, depending on the month. And we can get those things moving in a much quicker fashion. We can work with someone right here rather than someone in Madison. And we just got our letter today that we're again approved to be delegated in 2021. So I just thought it'd be a good opportunity to speak on that, educate people what that means. If you're looking to do a project, just another benefit of doing it here in the city of Waupaca. So
another big topic on the news that just happened is the state mask mandate has been extended through November 21st. So we want to remind people about that. And then the other thing is the school board took some action as well locally.
Yeah, that was back in August. Prior to school starting, the board made a motion, and a lot of people don't realize it, but to ensure that masks are worn or face coverings are worn at school during instruction. So even if the governor didn't do what he did and extend the mask mandate, our staff and students here at the school district would have been still under the motion that our board made. So now we'll just see and wait after the 21st of November and what their environment is like at that time. So really at the school district, we're going to be wearing masks according to the mandate until the school board votes to stop the motion. So that's the situation we're in here.
And Aaron, what does that mean for the city's mask resolution?
Yeah, from a city level, our mask resolution was put in place back in the beginning of August, I believe, and that mask resolution went through to October 30th. So with the extension of the state order that basically supersedes our resolution, we were kind of ready for that to kick in and go into place and start promoting what that means and what the differences were. But the state order is just a slightly stricter than the resolution. And because of that, it supersedes it. And it also extends past our original date of October 30th to November 21st. So as long as that's in place, that'll take precedence. And we'll kind of try to stay in the loop on the conversations at the state level, see what they're planning to do. It's harder, easier said than done. You know, you'd think that we would have had maybe some idea of, hey, is this thing going to end in September? Is it going to get extended? We really, you know, in all of our circles, there's not much insight on that. And then all of a sudden we all kind of hear at the same time. So I would expect that to be the same as we approach November 21st, depending on what the situation is across the state.
And the final thing we want to touch on, which I thought was too early, and Ron corrected me on that. The kids are excited already about Halloween and trick-or-treating, and it's over a month away, but we want to talk about kind of the safety behind that with COVID going on.
Well, we talked about this prior to our being recorded here, and we were thinking about pushing this off a week to get closer to Halloween, and Ron said, my kids want to know what's going on. So no, and I think actually I would agree. A lot of kids, I've gotten some questions too. And so far we're working with public health at the county, and they've released some guidelines on how they believe it's a safe activity. They think it can be done safely, and just some reminders on this, and this. And that's going to be posted. I know you have it scheduled to go out on our social media, Josh.
Site, and it'll be on our Facebook page in the coming weeks. Yep.
So now, you know, things are always changing, right? But right now, I can communicate that that's something that both county public health and we're expecting to run as a normal year. So with those precautions that we'll educate people on. So.
Well, Ron, Aaron, once again, appreciate you making time to get our community up to date with everything going on.
Appreciate the opportunity, Josh. Thank you.
Yes, thanks again, Josh.